Good evening and welcome to our latest in our On the Sofa interviews. Tonight we're very pleased to welcome Stephen Darby, who is going to be interviewed as usual by Vic Morgan. Just a quick update, and you see here is our infographics. They're still on sale at the website, so if you wish to purchase one. If anybody has placed orders, all the orders did go out this evening, so you should be receiving those in the next couple of days. If you have any questions for Stephen, please let them leave them on the comments, and we will get through as many as we can at the end. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to bring Vic on. Hi, Vic.
Hello to you, Chris. How are you?
I hope all is well. Thank you.
Oh, good. Very good day for Swindon, obviously.
Sorry?
A very good day for Swindon fans, of course, with the news of a signing
DJ.
this evening.
Yes.
Yeah. Dialang Jayasimi on 3 years, which is a very good signing indeed. Yep. Good news.
So let's bring Stephen on and we'll start the interview. Hi, Stephen. Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, good. Very good. Thanks for having me on.
No problem at all. Okay, so I'm going to leave you in Vic's very capable hands, and I will see you at the end.
Chris, thank you very much indeed. It's a great pleasure to welcome Stephen Darby onto our On the Sofa events, and these have been running, of course, throughout the pandemic, and so for those who've suffered throughout this, we send on our very best wishes. Stephen, first and foremost, how are you? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Not too bad. Obviously, like everyone else, getting through lockdown, really. Obviously, with everything that's gone on and the illness that I've got, I'm classed as highly vulnerable, so I've been staying in. I haven't been seeing the family that much, so but hopefully now, as they start seeing the family a little bit more and seeing everyone.
Yeah, which is good news. And of course, we should mention your wife, Steph, who's been affected by this in terms of playing football. Is she back in training yet?
Yeah, so she's back in. They went back 3 weeks ago, so she's happy to be back training, back doing what she loves. And I think what pleases her more is to get out of the house and away from me, really. But no, she's great, and she's happy to be back training.
Well, that's good news. Steph Houghton, of course, we should say, captain of England. Right, we're going to go through your career, and we will touch on that sort of really very special time you had at Swindon. But let's go right back to the beginning. Born in Maghull, Liverpool. I've had relatives who lived in Maghull, so I know it. And obviously, you were of the red side of Merseyside, is that right?
I am, yeah. So grew up in Maghull, and my mum and dad and my brother, they're actually Everton fans. So they're not enjoying things at the moment. And obviously, I'm a big Liverpool fan. Managed to have a season ticket when I was younger. I used to go to the game with my mum's friend. She used to take me every week. And yeah, so I grew up being a big Liverpool fan and went on to live the dream of playing for them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's start about that. I mean, you were an academy player there to begin with, weren't you? And a couple of FA Youth Cup wins as well. So a good start to your career.
Yeah, it was. The FA Youth Cup is the first trophy that you can win, say, at youth level and at the start of your career. So to win the FA Youth Cup, not just once but twice, was a great achievement. And I think at that time you put yourself up with the past winners, especially like Jamie Carragher and Michael Owen, and obviously they went on to win the FA Youth Cup and to have fantastic careers. So you try and look at that as a benchmark. Obviously, didn't hit those heights, but it was a great time to start my youth career by winning the 2 FA Youth Cups against Manchester City and Man United.
I was going to say, not bad teams to beat in those particular finals. How difficult was it to get a place at the academy? Because I'm guessing, you know, Liverpool has a pretty big pool for young players. The standards must have been very high.
It was, and I think at the time as well, Liverpool was setting the standards in terms of the academy level. They just had the academy built in Kirby, which was a multi-million-pound complex, and it was one of the first academies around. So they were certainly setting the standards. And I say, when you had a club like Liverpool, one of the best teams in the world, then you know it's going to be competitive, and you know they're going to be looking for the best players, not just in the first team squad, but also the best young players as well. So obviously to get into the academy was tough. A lot of hard work, a lot of dedication and sacrifice, but so it was all worth it in the end.
Well, Bill Shankly famously said there were only two teams in Liverpool, Liverpool and Liverpool Reserves. You were also captain of Liverpool Reserves, weren't you?
I was, yes. So I was captain for one of the youth cups, and then when I got promoted from the youth team into the reserves, we were based up at Melwood with the first team. I was fortunate enough to captain the reserves. Gary Ablett, who was our manager at the time, made me captain, and that was a great honour for me to be captain of say the football club that you love and you support. It was fantastic.
There's a great story, and you can tell me whether this is right or not. But you were on the bench for a Champions League game against Galatasaray in Istanbul. Quite a place to be on the bench, I guess, for a Liverpool fan. And then you flew home to play the Youth Cup game at West Bromwich Albion the following day. Is that right?
Yeah, it's true. So we had I was involved in the Champions League match, as you've just mentioned, and I was on the bench against Galatasaray, and it was great because on the bus on the way to the game, the first team were reliving the moments and the memories of obviously winning the Champions League there. So it was nice to be on the bus and to listen to their stories and of that special night in Istanbul. And then after the game, I didn't get on, but I knew we had an FA Youth Cup match the next day. So I asked Rafa Benitez at the time if I was okay to play in the game, and he said yeah, of course. So the following day I was playing West Brom in the FA Youth Cup at the Hawthorns.
And it went to extra time, didn't it?
It did, yeah. It went to extra time, and we managed to win it. That was the second year round, and that was a special group of players because that youth team, that group, we've been together since we were 8 and 9 years of age, and it was coming to a time where you find out who's getting professional contracts and which players aren't. So we kind of knew that'd be our last few games together. So it was a nice week for us to end.
You did get a debut now, first team debut. Now, you know, how special is that for a Liverpool fan to pull on the red shirt in a first team game? Give us an indication of how special that is.
It's what you dream of. Obviously being a Liverpool fan, going to the games when I was younger, but then obviously coming through the academy and training 3 or 4 nights a week in the younger ages, and then to come through in the youth team and to make that progression from the youth team reserves to the first team. A lot of hard work goes in and a lot of sacrifice, not just for myself, but for my family as well, and from the coaches at the academy and at Liverpool. So yeah, it was a special night for myself, a special night for the family, and also a special night for Liverpool Football Club and the academy, because they see another one of their own coming through and getting an opportunity.
Is that always the case at Liverpool, do you think? I mean, we live in a day of big money foreign stars, and we've seen, you know, obviously a lot of the foreign stars do great work for Liverpool this season. But was it always the case, do you think, that the club looks favourably on younger players coming through?
Definitely, yeah. And as I mentioned before, you look at the likes, obviously Jamie Carragher, Michael Owen, Steven Gerrard, you know, they're homegrown lads, Liverpool through and through, have come through and they managed to stay at the top level of the game for all their career. And it is certainly something which Liverpool pride themselves on, to try and have those homegrown lads coming through. And I think you can see it now with Jurgen Klopp, and obviously Trent's come through. He's obviously got a Champions League medal, Premier League medal. You got Curtis Jones coming through. There's a load of young lads there who, obviously, if they're good enough, then at the moment Jurgen Klopp's giving them a chance, and that's great for the academy, but also great for the fans, because they can relate to these players and have one of their own in the team.
Yeah, it's that connection between the terraces and the pitch, isn't there, which is a vitally important thing at a football club.
It is. It's massive, and to have that connection where the fans can relate to the players and the players can relate to the fans, I think it's priceless. So it's massive that you do try and blood local lads too.
Now, I think you made your debut in a League Cup match against Tottenham, and then by coincidence you made your Premier League debut against Tottenham. Is that right?
I did, yeah. So we came on at White Hart Lane. We got beat 4-2 in the League Cup, but I managed to get on for the last 10 or 15 minutes, which was nice. My mum and dad were there in the stands, so it was a special moment for them. Obviously, the sacrifices that they made, take me to training every night and being there for me through the ups and the downs. It was a special night for us all, and then managed to come on against Tottenham at Anfield in the Premier League. Came on as a substitute. Actually came on at right wing. Jamie Carragher was right back at the time, and we were winning 1-0. And it was getting towards the last 5 or 10 minutes of the game, and Rafa Benitez told me to go and get ready and get warm. And he was putting me on right wing because I had Gareth Bale left wing at the time, so it was just to short it up. But we managed to win that game 2-0, and I was involved in the goal, so that was special, and another special night.
Don't tell me that goal that you were involved in was in front of the Kop, was it? That would have been too much, really, wouldn't it?
No, it would have. Yeah, no, it was at the Anfield Road end, but as you say, to get me Premier League debut at Liverpool was another special night for myself.
Of course. Now, during that spell, of course, whilst you were at Liverpool, you joined several clubs on loan. I'm going to go back to the main one shortly, but Notts County you were at with Tom Ince, of course. Paul Ince, I think, was manager at the time, and Tom Ince, Paul Ince's son, also Liverpool, former Liverpool player, of course. Paul Ince, former Swindon player for about 3 games. You may not know that, but he was. And so you went to Notts County and to Rochdale. Loan experience, how vital is that for a young footballer?
Joe, it was priceless. It was massive. I think for any footballer coming through, if you're not going to get any games in the first team of the club that you're at, then to get yourself out on loan and to play football week in, week out, it's massive. And it was certainly massive for me to get that taste of league football, to play against pros who've been playing in the leagues for years, and to see obviously how they conduct themselves and to see how important it is. You really are fighting for your life, and say to go on loan to experience league football, it's massive. And I'd certainly say to any young player out there, or any player who's not getting any games, to certainly look to go on loan, because it's a huge part of learning football.
Well, Swindon, of course, had Michael Carrick at one point, and also James Milner at one point on loan. So there's great examples of how those players go on and have fantastic careers, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and it certainly stands you in good stead. I went from obviously a couple of appearances at Liverpool and mostly playing reserve league football, to then making my debut for Swindon, Brighton away on a Saturday at 3:00. You're playing against a team. Brighton were a good squad at the time, and you're playing against say seasoned professionals who want to win. So yeah, it was certainly stood me in good stead going on loan, not just at Swindon but also at Notts County and at Rochdale, because at Swindon, obviously, we managed to get to Wembley, which was a great experience. Obviously, unfortunately, we couldn't go that one step further, but then at Notts County, we stayed up on the last day of the season So to experience that relegation fight and the pressure when you are really fighting for your life, that for me that was an experience. And unfortunately at Rochdale, we did get relegated. So I kind of had a mix of everything when I went on loan to Swindon, Notts County and Rochdale. But I think that stood me in good stead for the next chapter of my career, which is when I signed for Bradford.
How much of a difference is there between playing reserve football and league football, you know, albeit at the lower end of the league scale? Is there a big difference?
There's a massive difference. I think more often than not nowadays, when you play reserve team football, you're more or less playing against lads who you've played against your whole career. I was fortunate enough that at Liverpool we had some games where some of the first team players, if they were coming back from injury, they would take part in a reserve team game. But certainly the intensity, the pressure of playing for 3 points, the pressure of playing for promotion or to stay up in the league, you can't replicate that playing reserve team football. It's a real experience, and yeah, it's massive.
I was going to say, you would have been watching yesterday, I'm sure, with great interest, the differing emotions between the three different sides who are vying to stay up, and either it's immense relief or it's crushing disappointment, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And when I was watching the games, I was nervous. Me and my wife were watching the matches, and I said to her, I'm nervous because you know how important it is to those football clubs, to the players and to the fans. You know, clubs and players, they're fighting for their lives, and it's intense. There's real pressure. And, as you see, Aston Villa, they were celebrating in the changing rooms afterwards, but then you see Eddie Howe at Bournemouth nearly in tears in his interview, and that's the realness of playing, you know, in the Football League week in, week out.
Right, well, let's talk about a move to Wiltshire then. In March of 2010, Danny Wilson is the manager. The side is going for automatic promotion. Stephen Darby joins from Liverpool. How did that come about?
Well, I made a couple of appearances for Liverpool, but then it was getting toward the back end of the season, and I knew I wasn't going to play too much. And it transpired that, as I say, Swindon and Danny Wilson came in for me on loan for the remainder of the season. I think where I got quite fortunate was that I came into a side that was going for promotion, a side that was playing really well, picking up points week in, week out. And that was great for me because I came in, and at the time, Kevin Manquo was at right back, and I know Kev's had his doors over at Swindon. He was a great player. So probably for me to come in, you know, you don't want to upset the squad or the team, but I came in and started right in. It was you know, a great 3 or 4 months of my career.
The style of football, did that suit you? Because they were a footballing team, weren't they? They weren't a bang it and hope it team. They were a footballing side. Yeah,
they were. I think we could mix it up really. You know, the gaffer Danny Wilson, he wanted to play, but he wasn't afraid to you know, to turn teams and use our strengths. You know, we had Charlie Austin and Billy Painter up front at the time who were scoring goals week in, week out. So, as I say, yeah, it was great for me, that a great bunch of lads, and to come into a side that had momentum and that was playing well. That was certainly easier for me to come into rather than to come into a side that's fighting for relegation.
Yeah, fabulous results ago, of course, and Leeds United have been much in the news, and Swindon fans will always sing the song over 2 matches, 6-0 on aggregate. I mean, fantastic performances that season, and to be a part of it, although slightly disappointing towards the end of the season that you didn't quite grasp that automatic place.
It was, as you mentioned there, we had a great win against Leeds at Ellen Road, 3-0, and then we beat Southampton as well at St Mary's 1-0. I think the last 4 to 5 games of the season, I think we drew 3 games, which looking back now, we probably should have had a better chance of getting automatic promotion. But I think those draws just killed us a little bit. But you know, to then beat Charlton over 2 legs and go to Wembley, it was great for the football club and special for the fans.
All right, well, let's talk about Charlton then. You were sub first leg, weren't you? If I remember rightly, Kevin Amankwa started, but you came on later on in the game. Is that right?
Yeah, I did. Sub for the first leg. Kev started that game, and Kev had a great game. The game time he played when I was there, he done really well. And I came on in that game. I think a couple of times throughout my loan spell where towards the back end of games, I actually came off and Kev came on. But yeah, started the second game away at Charlton, and it was a great memories for us all.
Yeah, what a fantastic night. We spoke to Phil Smith last week, of course, who had the most dramatic of entrances, coming on after about 2 or 3 minutes. And he was telling us that he wasn't ready. He was still kind of in the tunnel. He hadn't got his shirt ready, he hadn't got his shin pads ready. And somebody said, "You're going on." And he went, "What? I'm what?" And of course, David Lucas went off injured, didn't he? So it was kind of a very quick introduction to that game for Phil Smith. How did the defence cope with that?
Yeah, it was, I think it was a goalkeeper you probably never ever expect to get on. But with David Lucas getting injured, we knew that we had two great goalkeepers at the club, and we knew that whether it was David Lucas playing or whether it was Phil Smith playing, that we were fortunate enough to have two quality keepers. So Phil coming on didn't faze anyone at all. And obviously it didn't faze Phil either. I had a great game that night, and so I think that was what was good about the squad, that no matter what was thrown at us or what we faced, we had enough character and enough belief to know that we could win any game.
And as we said to Phil Smith, not only did you have to change your goalkeeper, you lost your captain as well. That was, a moment that most Town fans will remember with sort of a sinking feeling. What was it like when Gordon Greer went off?
It was devastating. I actually messaged Gordon about it a couple of months ago. I had a little laugh and a joke about it, but yeah, it was tough. You never ever want to lose your captain, and to lose Gordon like that was tough. But as I just mentioned there, the lads were never ever fazed by anything that was thrown at us, whether it was an injury to your goalkeeper or whether it was a sending off to your captain. Luckily we had that character and we had that strength in the side to deal with that on the night. Unfortunately, it meant Gordon was to miss the game at Wembley, which was, a big loss. But, the night at Charlton, we managed to come through.
You did. So that blue shirt behind me is the one that you wore on the night. The number 21, of course, you had for Swindon. You get to the penalty shootout, right? So this is, I don't know, how many have you been involved in your career? Can you remember?
Funny enough, when we were in the youth cup, we had a couple of penalty shootouts then. I remember taking one in the youth cup at Southampton away, managed to score. Since Swindon, I've been involved in, I think, 3 or 4. I've only missed one in them, but I'd say being involved in the penalty shootout in the playoffs was certainly a lot more pressure than taking one in the youth cup.
Well, Swindon's never had a great history with penalty shootouts. I don't know if you knew that. But anyway, you get to the 5th penalty and hadn't missed one. Swindon perfect at that stage. Charlton had missed one. Did you know that would be the winning penalty should you score it? Phil Smith says you didn't. Did you know?
I did know, but I was more concentrating on just trying to put the penalty away. I think when you're involved in a penalty shootout, you can practice them all you like on the training ground, but when you make that walk from the halfway line to your penalty, there's nothing like it. It is the longest walk in football, and as I say, when we were going through the penalty takers, I remember Danny Wilson had his piece of paper and writing them down, and Michael Timlin just said, "Darbs will take one." And I looked at him and I thought, right. And obviously it turned out that I was on the 5th. Danny Wilson said, "Yeah, right, you're on the 5th penalty." So, and say to step up and to take us through to Wembley was one of the most special moments of my career.
Well, take us through that walk then, because when we were talking to Phil Smith, there isn't a lot of pressure on goalkeepers, is there? Because, they're there, and if they save one, fabulous. But you know, it didn't. But to you, taking the 5th penalty in a penalty shootout, just describe that walk up from the halfway line and how you're feeling, and that penalty. What take us through that process?
I'd say it's the longest walk in football. For me, I knew where I was going before I took the penalty. So for me, it was to concentrate on where I was putting it and just stick with it. I think you see players nowadays who stutter or they jump, I just knew myself that where I was going. So I was trying to keep focused on that, really, and keep concentrating rather than actually thinking about what's happening. And I think after the penalty went in, I think you could see a lot of different emotions. Obviously, we're delighted we've gone through, but also relief as well. You never want to be that player who misses a penalty. It's the hardest way to lose a game of football on a penalty shootout. So to score the penalty, it was I was delighted, but also relieved as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a great moment. I was lucky enough to be doing the commentary on it. And what a fantastic moment. The club is going to Wembley. We'll get to that in a minute, because the new Wembley's not a great friend of Swindon's, and yours in Bradford City either. But the relief must be fantastic. And the dressing room afterwards must have been fantastic. And to know that the club's going to Wembley for a place in what was Division 2, now the Championship, etc. Then those few days between Charlton and Wembley, you didn't start, did you, under the arch? Kevin Amankwa started that game.
Yeah, he did. Obviously, we played, I think after the Charlton game, we had a few days off, and then we were back in for a week's build-up to the Wembley game. So Kevin Amankwa started, but I think, obviously, it's disappointing not to start at Wembley, but to be honest, the group of lads that we had, whether you were starting, whether you were on the bench or were involved, everyone wanted the team and the football club to do well. And I think that's what took us a long way and took us to Wembley, that team spirit, and we had a lot of characters in the squad. But as you say, it was disappointing on the day not to win the game.
Yeah, we spoke to Charlie Austin in this series, and we mentioned the bubble. From a player's point of view, I mean, from a fan's point of view, it was terrible. But from a player's point of view, if there's one player you put your house on to go through and score a goal at Wembley, it would have been Charlie Austin in that situation, wouldn't it?
It was as well. Yeah, definitely. I think that was the only bubble on Wembley, and unfortunately enough for Charlie and for us, it's bubbled up. But, you know, we've seen what Charlie could do all season, throughout that season, along with Billy Painter. And we've seen what Charlie's done over the years in the Championship and in the Premier Leagues. And, you know, it's nice to see Charlie getting promoted with West Brom. And I say Charlie's quality that he had, he terrorised defenders. He was relentless. And obviously we've seen over the years how good of a finisher he is.
Yeah, back in the Premier League, of course, and what a fantastic end to the season for him. Right, so Wembley's over with. The disappointment of the Millwall game, well, still hasn't left many of us. But obviously, your situation. I was talking to a Liverpool friend of mine. Hello, Andrew. Earlier on today, we were texting each other, and he was saying that when you were released from Liverpool, he was very disappointed because he thought you might go on and have a career with Liverpool. You were eventually released. How was that?
It was difficult, really difficult, because obviously I had the loan spell at Swindon, which was a fantastic loan spell for myself. But then for 2 years on from there, I went on loan to Notts County and Rochdale, and I was in a relegation battle for those 2 years. And then to get released, you're kind of wondering where your career is going. And where you're going to be. And fortunately enough for me, Bradford and Phil Parkinson signed me that summer. But I think that's what's really, really difficult for a footballer, is when you are going through a tough period, whether you're on loan or whether you're out of contract, you don't really know where your career is going. And that's when you've got to dig in, and that's when you've got to keep working hard, keep putting in the hours on the training pitch and keep believing in yourself.
Was there ever any talk in that summer after Wembley that you might come, excuse me, to Swindon permanently?
Yeah, so in the summer there was talk of coming to Swindon, which I would have been delighted with. As I had 3 or 4 great months there, and actually I loved the place, loved the football club, loved the fans, but for whatever reason that didn't happen. In the end, I managed to sign for Bradford City, which I spent 5 amazing years there, and absolutely loved the football club, and I loved the place, loved the fans, and I say it turned out to be a really good decision in the end.
Well, you say a really good decision. Let's take you through some of the runs that you had. The League Cup, first and foremost. Let's talk about that. Now, if I said to you, you're not prolific in the goal-scoring stakes, I think that's fair, isn't it? But your only goal comes in that incredible League Cup run, and that's at Burton, not the most glamorous of places to get your goal, but it's a goal. How did you feel when you scored?
Yeah, I was delighted. Obviously, I wasn't known for my goal scoring ability throughout my career. Obviously, I used to pride myself on clean sheets and doing what I could to help the team, and to eventually get my goal. It was actually at Bradford against Burton. We were getting beat 2-0, and we managed to pull it back to 2-2 in extra time. And I don't know why to this day I decided to shoot from where I did, but I did, and luckily enough for me and the football club, it went in, and we managed then after that game in the League Cup to go on and beat some top sides and to have our day out at Wembley.
Well, you say top sides: Wigan, Arsenal, Aston Villa. Not bad. That's a pretty good run to get to any competition, isn't it?
It was, and I think what was special that year was there was at Bradford. Obviously, I signed that summer. There's Phil Parkinson, the manager, who was obviously the manager of Charlton when we beat them. And there was about 9 or 10 signings that summer. And I remember in pre-season, the squad just really clicked, and you could sense that there was a real togetherness with the lads. And it was one of the best dressing rooms I've been in and been a part of in my career. And you touch on the League Cup run to beat Wigan was fantastic. That was another penalty shootout. And then, as I say, we played Arsenal at Valley Parade, and it was a special night. It was full. We had 20,000 odd. It was a night game. I remember the pitch was nearly frozen. I remember Arsene Wenger and the Arsenal players coming out looking at the pitch thinking, surely this can't be on. And it was probably a leveler for us. We were used to playing on our pitch, obviously. And I say another special night and another penalty shootout.
Goodness me. And then Villa, of course. Take us through that one, because that you're getting closer and closer to Wembley. Take us through the Villa game. Yeah,
that was to beat Villa over 2 legs was amazing. It was incredible for everyone involved in the football club. We were 3-1 up after the first leg, and then we went to Villa Park, and it was unbelievable. I remember it was obviously a night match. We had about 6,000-7,000 there. The atmosphere was incredible, and I think we went 1-0 down in the game, so it was 3-2 on aggregate. And I remember we went in at half time, and Phil Parkinson saying to us that, we needed to be better. We needed to believe in ourselves more. And we came out the second half, and James Hansen, who was an absolutely brilliant player for Bradford City, he managed to get a goal back for us, which put us 4-2 ahead. And they got one back later on to make it 4-3 on aggregate, which made it a nervous last 10 minutes. But we managed to see the game out, and I think when I look back on my career, that would be certainly one of the top 3 moments. Aston Villa away, it was an incredible night, and to go on a cup run and to beat them over 2 legs and go to Wembley in the League Cup final was amazing.
Yeah, and the level of league, of course, that you're at, you know, to go and play Swansea at that time, one of the best footballing teams in the country, I think it's fair to say, isn't it? It didn't go to plan, really, did it? It was another Wembley disappointment for you. Why was that? Was it just that Swansea were just too good on the day? Was that the problem?
Yeah, it was. As I said at the time, Swansea, Laudrup was the manager, and they had them playing some unbelievable football. And I think when you're playing on a pitch as big as Wembley's against a squad that was as good as Swansea's on the day, I think they beat Chelsea in the game beforehand over 2 legs to get to the final. So that just shows you the quality that they had in their squad. I don't think it was a case of us being overawed by the occasion or being nervous. I think it was just the fact that Swansea were just too good for us on the day, and it was probably just one step too far. The result was disappointing, and it was tough to take after such a special cup run, but it was a great day out for the football club and for the fans. To think that a League Two side could get to the League Cup final, it was absolutely magnificent. But I think that was our dress rehearsal for the playoff final. You know, we managed to go up in the playoff final that season, but I think having gone to Wembley and played Swansea, we knew what it was all about, and we knew what was to come, so we were well prepared for that.
And if I also mention cup exploits, I think many of us will remember when they first heard Chelsea 2, Bradford City 4. I mean, that was a bonkers result at the time. There we are, Chelsea were, you know, Jose Mourinho's manager. They're spending millions on footballers. They're going to beat Bradford City and go through and possibly win the cup. Not the case, Stephen Darby. Quite an afternoon for you, I would imagine.
It was, as I said, I think crazy sums up well. But I think that result epitomised what Bradford City Football Club is about, and epitomised what the squad was about as well. Not just for that season, but the seasons before. You know, we already had the cup run, say 2012, 2013, and we had the belief that although we were coming up against these world-class sides, we had the belief that we could beat them. I remember when the team sheet went up on the board, and for a couple of minutes we had a laugh about it. Obviously, the quality that they have, not just the starting 11, but on the bench as well. It's frightening. So we had a laugh for a couple of minutes, but then it was right. Come on, what can we do to obviously give the best account of ourselves in the game? And fortunately enough, we did that.
Yeah, it was an extraordinary afternoon and an extraordinary result. Did you get to speak to Jose Mourinho afterwards, or did he do a collective talk? What did he manage to say anything to you?
Well, after the game, myself and Andy Halliday had to do an interview for the BBC. And Mourinho actually went into the dressing room at the time, and he congratulated obviously all the staff and all the players on our win. I think we're the first team to come back from being 2-0 down against Chelsea and to win a game for a number of years. So against Mourinho, so that just tells you the magnitude of the win. And so it was a great day, a really special moment for everyone and for the fans of Bradford City.
We went and did it again against Sunderland, didn't you? In a home, the next round at home. On a pitch which I remember watching on television. What a great pitch, was it, if I remember rightly?
It wasn't, no, it didn't have much grass on it. But I think that played into our hands. We knew what to expect. And like a couple of seasons before, when Arsenal came to Valley Parade and they're looking at the pitch, and Sunderland were the same. You know, you're playing against these Premier League sides and the top players who play on Bowling Greens week in, week out, and they come to our place and as I mentioned, it is a leveler, but at the same time, you've still got to raise your game when you're playing for League One side against these top teams. And I think Bradford as a football club and the squad that we had, we always have that belief and have those characters in the squad that we can beat these top sides.
Then, of course, you were captain, of course, when Gary Jones left. So you were made captain. You lost to Reading, of course, we should mention in the next round, I think. So let's move on from that, shall we? We've done the Cup of Rowetts. Let's move on from that. But you were made captain, and that must have been a great pleasure for you as well. Because Gary Jones, what a player that is. I mean, he was extraordinary in that midfield, wasn't he?
He was, and Gary was a massive influence on me, personally, for my career. I was at Rochdale with him for a year before he moved to Bradford, and we got relegated. And I'll be honest, me and Gary, although we share going into Rochdale, we probably didn't know each other too well because we were getting beat every week. We never really spoke, and Gary was a winner, and losing football matches really hurt him, and as it did myself. But like I mentioned before, any footballer looking to go on loan and to get that experience, that was massive for me to see how Gary conducted himself and his professionalism. As I say, to sign for Bradford together and have 2 great years together at Bradford was good for me, and it was a huge influence. And to take the armband off him was a real special moment, because I'd say signed for Bradford at a time where I didn't know where my career was going, and we were fortunate enough to get promoted, to have a cup run and get to Wembley, and we really had something special going there in the first 2 or 3 seasons, and you could feel the football club gaining momentum and trying to get it back to where Bradford City belonged, which is up the leagues, and to be able to lead the lads out and to walk out in front of the Bradford fans was something that will live with me forever.
Obviously, it was a very special time for you. Eventually that comes to an end. But Phil Parkinson, obviously a massive influence on you, because you rejoined him, didn't you? You went to Bolton in 2017. How did that come about?
Yeah, I did. I say Phil Parkinson, I can't thank Phil enough for everything that he's done for me in football, and he gave me an opportunity when, as I say, I didn't really know where my career was going, and he really believed in me. Obviously, Phil Parkinson and Steve Parkin and the staff at Bradford. In the 5 years that I was there, we really had something special, and so my contract came to an end, say 2017, and I knew Bradford weren't going to renew it. And in the summer, obviously, Phil Parkinson being at Bolton, got in touch, and took a few weeks to get there, but we signed for Bolton in that summer.
Now we're going to get to move on to what you're doing at the moment now, because obviously there is that moment when you get the diagnosis, you have to give up the game that you love. I'm trying not to be indelicate, but how was it, that moment? I mean, one can only imagine how it was. How was that moment for you?
It was tough. It was devastating as well. My symptoms of motor neuron disease actually started for the last 5 or 6 months of me while I was at Bradford. I knew there was something wrong, but when I was going to see the specialist, they didn't really know what it was. Obviously, I signed for Bolton, and during my time there, I didn't play too much. And as it transpired, it was because of the illness, MND, and to retire, it was tough, because I've loved football ever since I could kick a ball, and to have that taken away from you, especially at 29 years of age, it's devastating. But fortunately enough for me, I've got an amazing wife and amazing mum and dad and brother and family and friends, and the support that I've had from the football community as well. It's been incredible and overwhelming, and we can't thank everyone enough for their support.
Well, rather than just sort of get on with it, you do something rather special. You set up the Darby Rimmer Foundation along with Chris Rimmer, who's a friend of yours and a British Forces veteran. And you're often seen along with Doddy Weir and Rob Burrow, of course, two other sportsmen who have the same condition as you. Why did you decide to set up that foundation? And was it to give you something to aim for? Was that how it happened?
A lot of reasons, really. I think the day I got my diagnosis, a devastating day. I remember sitting there with the consultants and my family, and just thinking, I'd hate for any other individual, any other family to be going through what we're going through right now. To learn that there's no effective treatment and there's no cure for MND. I say it was devastating, and I just felt that we needed to do everything that we can to try and support other individuals and other families who are living and battling this disease. We needed to do everything that we can to try and help them. And that's where we come to set up the Darby Rimmer MND Foundation. Chris Rimmer, who is friends with with my brother, he offered his support straight away because he knew what I'd be facing. He knew that the consultants and the doctors wouldn't have any answers to the questions I had. So he knew what I'd be going through. So when I mentioned to him I was setting up a foundation, I said to him, would you like to set it up with me? And from that day, we've done everything that we can to try and get the foundation up and running and to help those individuals and families who are battling this horrific disease.
Yeah, and all power to you. Where are we at with this in terms of research? Do you keep in touch with the medical people in terms of how that is? I mean, obviously, medically, there have been other things that people are concentrating on at the moment, and we understand that, but is there much big progress being made?
Yeah, so as a foundation, we're lucky enough to have such incredible support. Obviously, the Swindon Town Supporters Club, the support we've received from them it's been amazing. We can't thank everyone enough. And we only launched in October, November last year, and we managed to raise around £700,000 at the moment. We're lucky enough to donate £150,000 for grant applications for the MNDA to process on our behalf. So the grants will go towards individuals who need that support, whether it's adapting the houses, because with MND, eventually you can't use your arms or your legs, so you won't be able to get up the stairs. So people have to adapt the houses accordingly, whether they need a bedroom downstairs or a wet room. It'll also be used for equipment as well, for whatever you need, whether it's wheelchairs. And then at the moment, we're speaking with consultants and neurologists on ongoing research projects which we can fund as a foundation. So what we'll do, we'll get all the projects together that are currently out there that need funding, and our research committee will then look at those projects, and we'll decide where we donate the money to.
And I see you've released some merchandise as well recently, some T-shirts and things like that. So presumably people can go to your website and those are all available on there.
Yeah, they are. If you go to the website and look at the merchandise section, if you click on the link, that'll take you to the Darby Rimmer MND merchandise. The Friends of Bradford City, they're kindly running that for us, so a big thanks to them. But yeah, you can get T-shirts, scarves, bags, and hopefully in the coming months we'll have more merchandise up there, like hoodies and sweatshirts. So any money, any merchandise purchased, then a percentage of that money comes to the foundation, and it will go towards support for individuals and families, and also towards research, so we can hopefully find an effective treatment and a cure for MND.
You must be aware of the goodwill towards you. Of course, you were a visitor to Swindon Bradford City earlier in the season, weren't you? It was a 0-0 draw, if I remember right. It wasn't a great game on the day, was it? I don't think.
It wasn't, no. Yeah, it was a draw on the day, but it was great to be back at Swindon. Funny enough, every time I came back as a player, playing against Swindon, I don't think I ever won. And it just shows how tough it is to go to Swindon and get a result. But it was special to go back, to see people that I haven't seen for a while, and to see the supporters and the fans. It was a really special moment, and for the support that I received as a player when I was there, I can't thank everyone enough at Swindon Town and the football club and the fans, but also now, and see the next chapter after football and setting the foundation up, the support that I've received from Swindon Town fans and the football club, from the supporters club. It's been absolutely incredible, and it's been overwhelming. And it's okay us saying we want to set up a foundation to raise money, but we can't do that without everyone's support. So everyone who supported us, we can't thank you enough. So a huge thank you from us all.
Yeah, I've just been reminded it was 1-1, of course, and Bradford scored very late on with a thunderbolt of a free kick, did they not? Yeah. So how did you feel? Was a draw about the right result for you? I guess it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was sitting on the fence that day, so it was the result. Obviously, the 3 or 4 months of Swindon, absolutely lovely time there, but to spend 5 years at Bradford and to achieve what we achieved was special. And I'll hold both clubs in my heart, and I'd say I was fortunate enough to have special moments in my career, which I still look back on at this day at both football clubs.
Well, as I said to you before we started, I can't think of a player who wrote himself into Swindon Town folklore with such a short spell at the club, because that moment at Charlton is indelibly in every Swindon fan's mind. So thank you very much indeed for that. And thank you very much indeed for tonight, because it's wonderful to speak to you, and you are warmly regarded, and rightly so. And of course, the supporters club are very much behind your foundation and will continue to be so. I remember that special moment at Exeter when Swindon wore those shirts, those special shirts. And I wasn't lucky enough to get one of those shirts when they were put on general sale, because the queue around the counter ground was remarkable. So Swindon fans will always want to support that foundation, Stephen. So you have our very, very best wishes. Chris, who is going to join us again, is lucky enough to have one of your shirts. Let's have a look at it, Chris, because I'm jealous. So let's have a look.
Okay, let me get ready. There we go.
Yeah.
It's actually the one that you signed, Stephen. Stephen very kindly signed it for me. So
I'm not jealous at all, Chris. Not jealous at all.
Well, that was a fantastic interview. Thank you very much, Vic, and thank you very much, Stephen.
Pleasure. Just before you start with the other question, just say, I think there were some children's sizes recently available. Again, I don't know if they've all gone again, but hopefully at some point in the future, those shirts will become available, because people desperately want to get one. Sorry, Chris, over to you.
Right, sorry to interrupt you. We've had loads of questions, so I will go through them as quickly as I can.
Okay.
You said your parents were Everton fans. What made you become Liverpool fan? Just to be different?
Yeah, actually, one of my best friends, Chris Jewell, his dad was a Liverpool fan, and he lived in the same road. And Chris's dad, Dave, he used to say, "You're not coming in the house unless you support Liverpool." So one day I said, "Right, okay, I'll support Liverpool." So they let me in, and from that day on, I was a Liverpool fan.
And how did your parents take it?
Not very well.
They've obviously forgiven you.
No, I wish they had forgiven me.
Right, toughest winger you have ever had to deal with?
Toughest winger. Magoma played against him when he was at Burton, and he went on to play for Birmingham. I always thought he was a difficult opponent. He was tricky, fast, he was strong. So Jack McGoma was always a tough player to play against in the league. When I was at Liverpool, came up against some top players, training week in, week out, and the likes of Harry Kuehl and Ryan Babel. Ryan Babel was always tough. I was only, say, 18, 19 at the time, and to train against him every day. He was strong, powerful, quick, good feet. He could go right foot or left foot. So I think Ryan Babel was always a tough opponent. Oh, and I think I left one out there when we played Chelsea. Hazard came on for the last 20 minutes, half an hour. And that was a great experience. Thankfully, he was quite quiet in the game. But yeah, that was great to play against him, because as a player, you want to play against the best players in the world and the top players. And when you play for a League Two, League One club, the League Cup and the FA Cup gives that opportunity to come up against these top clubs and these top players. And I would say that was a great experience for us all.
Fantastic. Did you always see yourself as a right back?
Yeah, so actually when I was younger, I was actually right midfield, and then when I signed for Liverpool when I was 8 or 9 years of age, they made me to right back. So ever since I've played right back. There was a spell when I was 13, 14 where I did play centre back. But I think when they realised I wasn't going to be very tall, then they made me back to right back again, and so I stayed there for the rest of my career.
Jolly good. And this one is from James Spencer. Do you enjoy watching Steph play, and do you give her any advice? Or did you take it?
Yeah, I enjoy watching her play. It's great to see Steph play, especially she's at the top of her game, being captain for Man City and for England. It's obviously a great honour for her, and it's special for me to see her captain Man City, but also to lead the country out as well. I'm very, very proud of her, and to see the hard work that she puts in day out. No one deserves it more than her. In terms of advice, tend to try and stay away from that. I think we'll be getting divorced if can't give any advice. But no, she knows that whether she had a good game or a bad game, obviously I'm always there for her if she wants to talk, or if she needs that support.
Fantastic. With the playoff games for Swindon, were you allowed to keep the shirts from the Charlton and Millwall?
Yeah, we did actually get to keep the shirts, but that was only after the playoff final. We did manage to keep them. What's quite funny is when we're at Swindon, you don't get many match shirts. I think we only had 2 for the season, 2 or 3 shirts it was. So, you don't get to keep your shirts after the game like the Premier League players do now, where they probably have 2 or 3 shirts a game. We had 2 or 3 a year, but yeah, managed to keep the shirt, yeah.
Fantastic. And linking on to that one, do you have a treasured shirt that you swapped with, somebody swapped with you?
When we did play against the top sides, I think when we won, I was always concentrating on celebrating. I'd always forget to get a shirt. I know when I made my debut for Liverpool in the Premier League, I got Robbie Keane's shirt. When we played Arsenal, I managed to get Rizicki's and Coquelin's. So I've got a couple of shirts there, but it was never. I know you get footballers and players who want to get someone's shirt before the game, and but for me, it was never really about that. It was obviously just playing the game, being a part of it, and hopefully being on the winning side.
Good. Do you keep in touch with any former Swindon players?
Yeah, so spoke to Gordon Greer or messaged Gordon not so long ago, and also Billy Painter, which was nice. So it's nice to hear from those lads every now and again, and to catch up with them and see what they're doing. And I think more so now, the lads have shown myself and the foundation incredible support. We had an event in May, the 100k in May, and Billy and Gordon took part in that to raise money for the foundation. So it's nice to speak to them, and it's nice the support that they show myself and the foundation.
Fantastic. Best bit of advice you've ever been given, and who by?
Best bit of advice. That's a tough one to just narrow it down to one thing. I think as a young player, the best bit of advice I give is to always listen to your coaches. Especially when I was coming through Liverpool, the coaches that I played under and coached by like Steve Highway, John Owens, Dave Shannon, they've been coaches for years, and they'd seen lads who come through and didn't quite have enough to make it. They coached the likes of Stephen Gerrard, Michael Owen, Jamie Carragher, so they knew what it took to be a professional footballer at the top level. So I think certainly listen to your coaches and just to never give up. I had plenty of tough times in football, as I mentioned, when relegation with Rochdale, had a tough time at Notts County, even at Bradford City. We mentioned the cup runs and the promotions and being the top sides, but in and amongst all that, we had some difficult moments as well. But it's how you bounce back from those difficult moments. That's why you got to keep believing and keep that belief and keep working hard to never give up.
Good. And the last question, which is the one that we always get, what's your best five-a-side side from the players you've played with or against?
That's a good one. I've never been asked that one before, so might take a little time. In goal, obviously coming through Liverpool, played with some top players and some world-class players, so I won't overload it with them. I'll mix it up. In goal, I have to say, we go with Pepe Reina first. I think at the time when he came to Liverpool, he was one of the best keepers in the world, Spain international as well, so we go with him. Centre backs, I'll go with. At the time when I come through, Gordon Greer was a massive influence on me at Swindon. To have my first loan spell and first real taste of league football. Gordon obviously was our captain. He was a leader. He was a winner, and he hated losing. So to see how Gordon conducted himself on and off the pitch was massive for me. Jamie Carragher will have to go in there as well. For the obvious reasons, being a Liverpool lad and being a Liverpool fan, I looked up to him and to get the opportunity to play alongside him. And also the advice that he gave me at the time as a Liverpool was priceless. We'll go with, how many have we got left? I've got three.
You got two left. You got two left.
We'll go with, obviously I won't pick Stephen Darby, but that would be the obvious one. But in terms of centre midfielders I've played in the Football League, I'd have to go with Gary Jones. I think we spoke about him before. Gary had a great career, spent most of it at Rochdale, but probably enjoyed the best 2 years of his career towards the end of it at Bradford. Probably similar to Gordon, the fact that Gary was a winner, hated losing, trained as if he played, gave 100% every day. So Gary would be in there. And then strikers, who's the biggest strikers?
You got one striker.
One striker there, yeah.
Me.
Yeah. Shouting there. She wouldn't even get on the bench, somebody.
Whoa.
No, as strikers, I'd have to pick Naki Wells. When we were at Bradford, we were only there for a couple of years together, but Naki was a great finisher, could score all kinds of goals. Whether outside the box, 20 yards, 30 yards out, or whether it was a poacher's goal. And Naki was great for Bradford. It was a pity we couldn't keep hold of him, but that was because he was such a top striker and he was in demand, and Naki's gone to to play at a higher level.
Fantastic.
Fabulous. So that's some five-a-side team. Just would you go through the details of your foundation in terms of the website as well, which is, obviously people will want to have a look on that and see about the merchandise. So tell us the details of that website once again, Stephen, if you could. Yeah, you can find it at www.derbyrimmermnd.co.uk. I have to check on that myself. Yeah, that's the one. It's www.derbyrimmermnd.co.uk. And all the information is on there. Any information, say about MND and about the disease and the symptoms, and also the events which people have done over the past few months, as well as any information and the merchandise links on there as well. So I say the support that we've had from everyone has been fantastic. It's been amazing, and hopefully you can keep joining us on our journey to help make a difference and keep battling MND.
I believe there's an event in August that your uncle is cycling. Is that correct? Around the grounds that you've played at? Yeah, he is. So it's my uncle, my brother, and some family as well, and some friends, and they're going from Swindon right into Bradford. 17th of August. 17th of August? Yeah, 17th. So they're going from Swindon from the 17th, and then you finish on the 21st, I think, 22nd, up in Bradford. And they're going via Notts County, Liverpool, Bolton and Rochdale. So that's a great event. They'll be down there starting at the county ground. So it'd be nice to be back there and relive some memories. But support like that, we can't thank everyone enough really for the support that they're giving us. And I think it'll be a long week for them. Sure to have a few drinks as well along the way. So it'll be a good one. Fantastic. Yeah. A lot of hills on the way, I guess, but hey, every hill goes up, there's a one that comes down again. So it's not too bad. It goes, yeah. There's just one last, it's not a question, it's from Rob, just to say best wishes from all the town family. So I think that sums it up from us all, really. So
no, thanks, Rob, and thanks to everyone. So I can't thank you all enough, and thank you very much for having me on.
No, well, Stephen, absolute pleasure, and we wish you the very best, obviously, and to Steph and the rest of your family. Thank you very much indeed for being with us this evening. And as Chris says, everybody wishes you all the very best. And whenever you get back to Swindon, always extraordinarily welcome. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Vic. Thanks, Chris. Thanks very much.
No problem. So that's it for this evening. We've got our next one, which is actually next Tuesday, and there'll be some advertising on who that will be in the coming days. So thank you for listening. Thank you, Vic, as usual, and thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen. All the best. Bye-bye.